Age of Fantasy Regiments. It's time to bloody our rat men. We got to get them on the table. And here they are in all their cheese-eating glory. We've got King Rizzo up here in the front. He is a fearless hero tough. Here's your classic champion. Quality 4, defense 4, toughness 3. This is our champion. I've only got the one like rat ogre, so we're just going to call him a champion. Hero tough. What do we got? Hero tough. He's an artificer. I need to look up what that means. He has got a pet giant rat, so you can't sneak up on him. He gets 6 attacks. Over here is our warlock, our wizard. He is hero tough 3. Only 3 attacks, but he can cast the spells. We've got our rat swarms in the back. 3 of those. We've got, and then the 3 that we really need to kind of cover. Actually, there's 4 of them over here, I suppose. We got Night Scouts. Quality 4, defense 4. They are fearless. What do we got? Scout, stealth, strider. So rough going isn't going to affect them a whole lot. Behind them, we've got a unit of, where's our storm veterans? We're going to call these our storm veterans. 10 of those. Quality 4, defense 4, fearless. They do have a sergeant. So what I've done here is, I'm going to see this guy with the big axe. I'm going to kind of back him off a little bit. I put the sergeants in the back just to kind of indicate that there's a sergeant here. And I guess I should really, because it's a unit of 10, I'm going to pull off one more figure from each of these two. Both our storm veterans and our warriors. Well, these are our warriors. I'm sorry. This is our militia. The guys with a little bit of yellow on them and the mixed weapons, that's militia. They're quality 6, defense 6. They're pretty terrible. They do have slings, though, so that's kind of nice. And then our big unit in the back here of warriors, quality 5, defense 5. They just have weapons. But they do have a sergeant. Wait, these guys need a sergeant, not the militia. No, I'm going to take it back. So these guys don't have the sergeant. The militia does. And that's it for our rats. And for the opposition force, we will go with the Dark Elves today. Dark Noble in the front, quality 3, defense 4. He is a fearless, furious hero with a tough 3, as usual. He's got AP 3 because he's got the great weapon, and it's kind of a little bit of magic abilities. No wizard on this side. It's a 750-point force. Up in the front, we've got a unit of Shade Scouts. These are the guys with the hand crossbows. Over on this side, we've got Corsairs. They are fearless. They have stealth. And then, of course, in the far back, we'll bring them into focus. We've got Raptor Knights, quality 3, defense 4, impact 1. And then 2 units of 10. The guys with the great big honking spears, those are going to be, what do we got? We got Executioners and Dark Warriors. The Dark Warriors have the halberds. They're quality 4, defense 5. The Executioners, with the execution weapons, they've got great weapons, quality 3, defense 4. I don't think anybody has a sergeant or a banner on this side. They do not. Although our executioners have head chop. What the heck does head chop do for you? This model gets AP 2 against units where most models have a tough 3 or higher. So we want to use these guys to go after our on the rat side, the heroes, basically. For terrain, we've got a couple of units. We're on the edge of an oasis. We got a couple of stands of rough going. The little well here will be rough going. A couple of pyramids, the block line of sight, and all travel. We've got some, the fallen way over here, these roads. This is what they look like, little 3D models I got off Etsy. So that whole area we're going to class as rough going. And then we have our first stand of dangerous ground. The quicksand over here in the oasis is dangerous. If you move through it, then there's rules for what you have to do. I think everybody takes a check, and on a 6 you lose a figure or something like that. If anybody moves through there, then we'll worry about it. But I think the Shade Scouts here, these Shade Scouts, and I think these guys ignore dangerous terrain as well. Hey, while we're here, we should figure out who is going to deploy first, and we're going to roll a red die for the Ratmen and blue for the Dark Elves. And we will begin, as we typically do, with a tie. So we'll try again, and there you go. What did I say? Blue for the Dark Elves? I started to deploy the Dark Elves when I realized, no, we need to figure out how many objective markers we have. D3 plus 2. With a 4, we're going to have 4 objective markers. Dark Elves get to place the first. The Dark Elves will place their first objective marker here. Now, bear in mind, we don't know who has which side, but the Dark Elves are confident. Bring it a little further closer. Since they've got the only heavy knights on the board, they can take if it's in the open area. Fine, say the rats. We'll go ahead and claim the bad zones, the zones that are harder to get to. We have to be at least 4.5 inches away. We'll call it 6 right there. So the Dark Elves put another one in the wide open spaces, and then the rats say, fine, I'm putting one in the dangerous terrain. What do you think of that? Then we have to roll to see who is going to deploy first. Once again, the blue is for the Dark Elves. And the Dark Elves get to go first, and they're going to go ahead and drop a unit right down there. The rats then deployed their militia, their weakest unit, over here to threaten this objective over on their right flank. After a little bit of back and forth, it looks like the plan here is, but now, I guess I should probably point out that it looks like the bulk of the battle is going to be fought over here on the left side of the table as we look at it. So let's look over there what we got. We got all of our heavy units over on that side and most of our hero units. The rats have their wizard and King Rizzo over here on the left. The champion is in the middle, ready to swing either way. But we're not done with deployment yet. Because remember that the Dark Elves still have their Corsairs who have stealth. And stealth lets you, I'm going to read it right from, enemies get -1 to hit. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Scout. I'm sorry, it's the Shade Scouts, the little shooty guys. Because they're scouts, they're deployed after all of their units and can then move by 6 inches. But the rats have a scouting unit of their own in the Night Scouts. So we have to roll off blue die for the Dark Elves. And we get a tie, so we'll just re-roll to find out who has to go first. And a tie once again, smoking out the snake guys. So the Dark Elves have to deploy their Shade Scouts first. They deploy in the deployment zone and immediately make a 6-inch move, which essentially amounts to they can deploy 12 inches into the table. So we'll drop them, they're 6 and 12. They're going to deploy right here. I'm just going to put one guy down for the moment. We'll put the rest down in a bit so that we now have those militia outnumbered 2-1. But we got to worry about this champion over here. Now the rats get to drop one of their units down as well. And their unit of Night Scouts has Strider. So they're actually going to deploy theirs right here. And they get to ignore the effects of difficult terrain. And that means that here, all they have to do is stand still and they're going to capture this objective. And, well, let me show you what happens here on the first turn. The next order of business is to roll to see who gets to move first on the first turn. With a result of a 5, the rats have to go first. So these guys say, I've moved, I'm done, I'm good, thank you very much. Which means we will, as we often do, we're going to switch our objective markers. And there's no chance that this doesn't go away. We're going to use green for the rats, and we'll change it to purple for the Dark Elves so that you can see exactly who's in the lead at any given moment. The Raptor Knights advance, and the next thing for the rat is for the wizard to cast a spell. He wants to cast Frenzy. He needs a 5 or a 6 to get this off. He's going to try to get these two fellas a little more speed. With a 5, he gets it off. So both of these units now can move at an extra 3 inches per turn. Now remember, we're playing this in half scale. So this is, to scale, a 4x6 table. They're going to be able to move either 1.5 inches or 3 inches if they rush on their turn. But it's not their turn yet. So instead, we are going to go ahead and bring these guys up, and then we'll just kind of swap back and forth. The rats move up their Storm Veterans. The Dark Elves move up their Blade. I can never remember what those guys are called. They're Corsairs. They're the guys with the 2 dual-handed weapons. And the militia says, you know what? I don't want any of this. We're going to give up this victory condition over here, and we're going to swing these guys around to support this side of the table. We're just going to throw everything at these 3. Remember, you got to take 3 of those objectives to win the game. Now, what that does is it frees these guys up to pivot up to 90 degrees, and they are a little bit out of range, so they're going to move to within 6 inches. They're actually going to pull up to here, and we'll take a shot at the champion right there. So we have 5 Dark Corsairs. Oh, I'm sorry. These guys are the Shade Scouts with the... No, these guys have the hand weapons. They both... Oh, these... No, these are the Corsairs. Yeah, these guys with the shooty. They've got repeating hand bows with 2 attacks at a range of 4.5 inches. So we should probably check that range one more time. Now, they have enough movement to get to within 4.5 inches. So we're just going to bring them up to just within range, like right about there. I think that probably looks good. And then they're going to, what is that? That's 3.5, we'll call it. And then they get 2 attacks. So they are going to get to roll 10 dice. And they'll be hitting on 4s. We'll pull out all of the misses. They get just what you'd expect. Well, no, that's about right. 4 hits. He has a defensive 5. And he's going to save 2 of them, and that's what he needed to do. He takes 2 hits, leaving him with just 1 wound. But now it's his turn. So I'm going to use red chips to mark his wound status. He's got a pair of them he's sitting on there. And because he's within 4.5 inches, he has not activated yet. he can move into melee. Assuming, of course, he passes his morale check. With a 6, he does, so he is not wavering. He does charge into combat, and now he's going to roll 6 attacks with his quality of 3. Although he is an artificer, which gives him an AP of 1 in melee, we're going to be rolling 6 attack, hitting on 5s, and he gets just 1 hit. And now rolling for defense, they're only defending on a 6. With a 2, one of the boys goes down. But they now get to counterattack with 5 attacks of their own. They have a quality of 5, and they're going to get 4 hits altogether, defending on 5s. And he is going to miss none of them, so he is completely knocked out of the fight. I need to start putting my champions with the proper unit, because that was a little bit embarrassing. However, we do need to make a quality check for these guys. And with a 5, they will be successful. So we just traded our champion for one of these Corsairs. Probably wasn't a very good trade, was it? This is not Hero Hammer. We got to protect our leaders. The next order of business will be to bring... Well, it's the Dark Elves' turn. We're going to bring the Executioners. They're about 6 inches away from the Storm Veterans. Now, bear in mind, as I do this, I'm using Sabbat bases to make it easier to move my troops around. In Age of Fantasy Regiments, you have 5 across the front. Now, you'll see, I've only got a Bannerman and a Sergeant in front of this Dark Elf unit. In your mind's eye, imagine 2 ranks of 5. Likewise, I've got a Sergeant out front. That's just so I have the visual reminder that one of my attacks is at +1. The Executioners are going to get to roll 9 attacks at a quality 3 with 1 attack at a quality 2. They have great big honking weapons. They're AP2, which means basically any hit needs a 6 to save. And they're going to roll a total of... Now, this is a quality 3. It doesn't really matter. We'll pull off the 3. They get 7 hits. Now, the only way that our Storm Veterans are going to be able to save these hits is with a 6. And they don't save any of them. So they just got completely decimated. There were only 3 left on the stand. But those 3 can counterattack, and one of them is a Sergeant. They're at quality 3. They're going to get... quality 5, 4 for the Sergeant. The Sergeant is the only one that hits, and saving on a 5 or better means the Sergeant is able to reduce the Dark Elves by 1. Clearly, the Dark Elves, and they have the banner, so they did a total of 8 hits. Our Storm Veterans are going to have to make their save, their morale check, and with a 6, they are going to stick around and fight for one more turn, I guess. The charging unit has to move back by a ½ an inch to create that little bit of separation. That was the Dark Elf turn. Now we're going to repeat the process with our unit of 20 warriors charging these old boys right here. And they have extra movement, not that it really matters. Kablow. So now we have a unit of 20 going up against a unit of 10. The unit of 10 has a sergeant. The unit of 20 does not. In fact, I left behind a couple of his boys. There we go. The rats charged. They get 10 attacks at quality 5. And that's going to score them 5 hits altogether. I only rolled, why did I only roll 9 dice? They get 1 more attack there. And that's going to be a miss too. So 5 hits that we're going to save on quality. Who are these guys? These are the Dark Warriors, are they not? Yeah, they got the halberds with rending. But first they have to save their defense 5. They get 1 save, so 4 of these guys fall in battle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the survivors get to counterattack, and there are only 6 survivors, one of whom is a sergeant. So we've got, let's see, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And they have a quality of 4, 3 for the red die. That's going to be just 1 hit altogether. But because he rolled a 6, he has rending, and that means he has AP 4. So we have to check. Well, basically, we're going to save on a 6 only, and he does not. So he will take out 1 of the Ratmen. Now, the Ratmen have caused 1 wound to 4, and the Ratmen still have 3 full ranks. So the Ratmen are going to be winning this by a score of 7-2 for the Dark Elves. So the Dark Elves have to make a morale check, and with a result of a 2, they're going to fail. Because the unit still has half of its power, half of its troops, it's wavering, and the charging unit has to fade back by a half an inch, like so. Hey, stand back up, you. And that will be the conclusion of this melee, which leaves us with just 2 units to activate. The Dark Elves will bring their leader over to here, and the Rat Men will bring their leader up to here. And I think that's going to be it for this first turn. It is indeed. Now, on the second turn, because the Rats went first, I think the Dark Elves get the first activation. The side that finished activating first gets to activate first on this round, and we're going to spend the entire round removing Wavering from these guys here, because if the Dark Elves don't do that, then the what do we call those guys again? Dark Warriors are only going to be hitting on 6s. We know they're about to get charged. So the question then becomes, what happens next? For the Rats. All right, I forgot 2 things. We have to replace our objective markers. The Dark Elves have scored a pair of them. The score is 2-1. And then at the start of this round, that's it. The other thing is going to wait until the start of the next round. It's the Dark Elves' turn, and we're going to finish off this melee over here. These warriors are going to charge and get stuck in. Kablow. They're going to get first strikes against a terrifying enemy, which means they will be able to roll 10 attacks, looking for 5s. And they're going to get a pair of them, saving on, and the pair is going to save on, I think it's 5s. Let me just double check that. They're only going to save 1. The Dark Elves those are the Dark Warriors with their halberds, with rending. They save on 5s. So only 1 casualty this time around, but there's only going to be 5 counter strikes, which are probably going to be a lot more effective. The Dark Warriors are going to be hitting on 4s, and they're going to get 3 hits this time. 1, 2, 3. Well, wait a minute. We got to roll for our defense. Defending on 5s. No, that's not true, because these guys have the big buku weapons that have rending. Oh, which just means the 6s counts as 2 hits. No saves, so that will be 3. So let's take a look. The Dark Elves scored 3 hits and have 1 rank for a score of 4. The Rat Men scored 1 hit and have 3 ranks for a score of 4. We are tied. The Rats, therefore, have to pull back, and since this fight isn't going well and seeing what's about to happen, the Dark Elf King is going to rush up and declare single combat against King Rizzo. The Dark Elf Noble has a quality 3. He gets 3 attacks at AP 3. And he only scores 1 hit, but unless we roll a 6 here, which we did not, so Rizzo is going to take 1 wound. And now Rizzo gets to counterattack, and King Rizzo is, what does he got? He actually gets 6 AP1 attacks. Oh my goodness. He's hitting on a quality 4. This might have been a mistake for the Dark Elf King. Going to get a total of 4 hits altogether, but the Dark Noble gets to save on 4 or better, and he saves twice for 2 wounding hits. And now the Dark Noble has to make a morale check against his quality of 3. And with a 1, he has failed. He is at less than half strength, which means, I think that means he routs off the table. Yeah, he has less than half of his wounds, so he routs off the table. Might still have been a decent sacrifice, because the king here now, if he does charge into combat with anyone, he will be fatigued because he made that counterattack. The Dark Elves are going to follow up here with a combat. They have a total of 7, 8, 9 attacks, and one of those is a sergeant. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 attacks here. And these are the executioners who hit on 3s. Yeah, this is all hits. Oh my gosh. And they have AP 2. So the only way to save is 6s, and man, unless these are all 6s, this whole unit is going to get completely wiped out. These guys may pivot and move up to 3 inches in any direction. We got some big boomers tonight. It's Saturday night, and man, Hawaiians love their fireworks. 3 inches in any direction. Now, we got to worry about these guys, but they're not terribly tough. Do we want to move, and do we want to attack this guy? If we move 3 inches into another melee, do we get to attack again? I don't think so. So we're just going to pivot them forward so we don't have to expose our flank. Let's do that. The king still has not gone yet, by the way. But we'll hold off on him until the wizard casts filth on these Night Scouts. With a 3, he will be successful. You need a 4, he's a wizard 1. The Night Scouts, when they attack, they're going to have the ability called poison. We may be able to have some fun with these guys. Remember, the executioners have already attacked. They're only going to be hitting on 6s. That'll be an interesting fight. Except that we do have a whole lot of forces that are on the move. Do we want to bring our knights, Raptor Knights, around right now? Or do we want to hold off for a bit? To understand the issue here, we need to look at these scouts with the shooty weapons. If we move them 3 inches up, they should be safe from the little militia over here. But they are going to tie everything up. So I think we want to get 6 inches away. And right now they are 4 inches away. So yeah, we're kind of pre-measuring. What are you going to do? So we're going to bring them up here 3 inches. And that might choke out the Raptor Knights a little bit, who are the heavy hitters. But we want to start chasing off. We want to see if we can start shooting at guys over here to soften them up. Then our militia are going to... Should we pursue with the militia? Should we move them up the full 6 inches? And if we're going to do that, why don't we move these guys the full 6 inches? Because we're trying to draw them away. That's really, I think, what it amounts to. Is if these guys advance 6 inches, and we need to turn them like this and bring them 6 inches like so, because we don't want to get hit in the flank by the Raptor Knights, or they will actually completely whittle away. Now, our Corsairs are going to go ahead and move up, and we really need to seize this. So if we advance them 3 inches, I think that costs them 4. So in this case, because it's dangerous terrain, we roll 5 dice. And for every result of a 1, we take away 1 model. We lose 1 model from those guys. But they are close enough. It does slow movement by half. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to bring them, and it's only when you enter. So we're going to bring them to this side of the objective marker, and then we can pivot them and move them out. I think that's right. They were 2 inches away, so they would have 2, let's see. So they would be able to move, that's fine. We're just going to call it. That's good. Now we can decide if we want to bring these Raptor Knights to charge these guys. And why don't we? We can just completely drive them from the field. The Raptor Knights have a total movement of 9. Remember, well, it would be 6, plus they have fast, and they are just going to obliterate this unit. But the unit that they've impacted does get a chance to counterattack. With Impact 1, the Raptor Knights have already done 5 hits. The Knights get to attack, and their mounts get to attack, so 10 dice hitting on qualities of 3. They're only going to score 2 misses, so that means our poor boys with a veteran are going to have to make a total of 13 saves. And I don't even have 13 dice out yet. I need 2 more red dice. And they're not particularly well armored. These militia only have a defense of 6. So 13, they need to score a whole lot of 6s. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That ain't bad. 5 out of 13 leaves them with just 2 models left. 8 wounds altogether, and I think we know who's going to win this one. But because they survive, they are going to get to make 2 counterattacks. 1 hitting on 5s. The red one is hitting on 5s, and the blue one hits on 6s. They didn't get any hits. So they have to make a morale check, and with a result of a 4, I think they failed. Yeah, they only have a quality 6. So that really, wow, man, that really didn't do any good whatsoever. Or did it? Do the rats have one more trick up their sleeve? Maybe they do and maybe they don't. But there's 2 more units that have to act. And both of those units are over here. Our Night Scouts are going to charge into combat with the Executioners. They get 2 attacks, meaning 10 dice. And remember, they have been boosted by the poison spell. Every 6 they roll to hit, counts as 3 strikes. They have a quality 4. These Night Scouts are really impressive. Wow. So, and with 3 6s, that's going to be a total of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hits altogether. That's even better than the Raptor Knights, isn't it? So there's our 10, and I'm going to need one more red die. The Executioners are going to save on 4s. And we'll call that a 4. So we'll pull out the successes. And they're going to fail 2, 4, 6, 7 times. Oh, yeah, 7 failures. So 7 of these guys die. We're down to just the leader and the battle standard. And the 2 guys who counterattack are only hitting on 6s. They don't get any successes. So the Storm Rats, let me pull these guys out of the way, are going to have to make a morale check. And with the result of a 6, they succeed. So the Storm Rats will fade back. And now, do we dare use our leader to try and drive these guys off? I don't think so. I think we're actually going to bring him back a little bit to preserve him for later. That is the end of the second turn. Do any of our objectives change hands? Yes, they do. The one over in the quicksand, I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to replace the marker with a 3. So the score is now 1 for the Rats to 3 for the Dark Elves. The Dark Elves are not dumb. The Scouts are going to pivot 90 degrees, and then they're going to advance 6 inches, which puts them right here. That frees up the charge lane for these Raptor Knights. Although the Raptor Knights are at a bit of an awkward angle, it might take them a couple of turns to get over there. Because we need to get the Scouts out of the way, that frees up the Rat Men. Over on this side of the battle, we'll bring our Night Scouts in. They do have 10 attacks. They don't have the poison anymore, but we really do like the idea of driving these last couple of Executioners off the table. We still have a quality of 4. We're still only looking for 2 successful kills, and with only 3 hits, that might be a little bit tougher. The Executioners make their saves. The defensive 5, we're only going to be able to eliminate 1, and we'll eliminate, do we eliminate the Sergeant or the Standard? Let's eliminate the Sergeant. The Standard Bearer now gets to counterattack. And the reason we're doing that is our Standard Bearer, if he can wipe out these guys, just 1, it'll count as 2 kills and will force the Rat Scouts to make the check. Unfortunately, because those are the Executioners, right? Quality 3, yeah, he gets it. He gets the 1 hit. So the Night Scouts have defensive 5. And with a 1, it's a failure. So it's 1 casualty to each side. But because he has a banner, the Rats have to make the check. And the Rats fail, so they are now wavering. And not only that, they have to pull back a half an inch, which leaves them dangerously exposed. Put them down as wavering, and on the next turn, that really complicates things. I'm a little surprised the fight went that poorly for them. Aren't you? The lone guy here hasn't moved. Do we want to charge? Let's charge with the guys with the halberds first. We have 5 attacks. And those attacks, the Dark Warriors, are going to be quality 4. And we're only going to get 1 hit out of that. Now, that is an AP. Wait, do we have a Sergeant in there? Oh, we do have a Sergeant. I got to re-roll that. We're going to call the Sergeant hits on a 3. And we get 2 hits this time, which I guess is fair enough. So 2 hits. The Rats are going to save both of them. Uh-oh. And now it's going to be 10 counterattacks. Man, this block of 10 units is just really impressive, isn't it? Although the counterattacks are going to be at Warriors quality 5. We got 1, 2, 3 hits out of that one. Saving on 5s. We get no saves, so 3 more guys go down. And now our Dark Elves make a morale check. With a result of a 2, they'll fail, and they are going to rout off the board because they are at less than half strength. We'll bring our boys up. They're going to rotate this way, and they're going to move to take command of that objective. And it's now the Rats' turn, and we can even pivot and attack this. Well, they've already attacked once, so they'll only be hitting on 6s. But we get 10 attacks, and if we just kill that 1 guy... Now, you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring our king up, actually. Kabow! And it's going to be a 1v1, except our king gets 6 attacks on the attack. And he's going to get a total of 4 hits, and the guy that he's hitting is going to miss one of them, so he is now out of the fight as well. And our king gets to make a follow-up move of 3 inches, and we're going to bring him over here. I think things have swung in favor of the rats. All 3 of these units have gone. We may be giving up a little bit of the, what do you want to call it, the initiative here. We're going to turn this guy. It's going to cost 3 inches to get to the edge of the quicksand, and then they can move another 3 inches out of it. And that's going to be it for that side. Who else do the rats have to go? They just have their wizard to go yet. And all he's going to be able to do is get to the edge of this broken ground over here. That's his full move. But at least it keeps him in line of sight of these 2 forces, so he may be able to help them move a little bit quicker next turn. That's it for the rats. Now there's some shuffling to do for the Dark Elves. These guys are going to pivot 90 degrees, and they are going to ride. Now, we got to be careful how far we move. We're only going to advance them to here. It keeps them out of attack range of the rats, but because they have kind of made most of that turn, they can kind of sweep up this way, sweep this way, and maybe retake one of those units. Although they're kind of fighting defensively at this point, aren't they? Then the last unit to go is going to be these dancers right here. They're going to move up, and they're going to shift 90 degrees like so, hoping to defend this point. And what we're going to rule, because the king is behind these 2 little pyramids, because his base lies directly between it, we're going to rule that they don't have line of sight to him. If they could move a little further, then they would have line of sight. But if they move further, they might have line of sight, but they've moved too far. They can't shoot this turn. So the last thing we have to do is look at our objective markers. And just like that, heading into turn 3, the score is tied 2-2. But it gets worse for the Dark Elves. The reason they brought these scouts over here to defend this point, and the reason they probably should have left their Corsairs where they were, is that the rats have some rat swarms who can come on at the start of any turn after the first. They're going to come on at the start of the 3rd turn. They will spawn right here. Greater than 6 inches away. Now, there's a chance. Remember, it's not a big unit. There's a chance they're going to take some hits. But suddenly, a 3rd objective is threatened by the existence of those rats. Oh, boy. The Dark Elves finished their moving first, which means not only that, but the rats get to go first. So we are going to move these guys up to here. I'm just going to straddle our objective marker. We'll put it right underneath this guy. So they move up, and that's only about 6 inches, but that's all they can do. We do need to roll 3 dice, and on every one, we're going to remove one of those rat swarms. So one of them goes bye-bye, but they are now camped right on, and you know what? We're going to bring them right in front of. So the only way to take this objective marker is going to be for these Corsairs to turn around and come back on. The Dark Elves are going to go ahead and punch with their heavy hitters. The Raptor Knights are going to hit these guys while they're wavering. These scouts have had too much success. Not only that, but this puts the Raptor Knights challenging for an objective marker. That'll kick back over to contested, won't it? Oh boy, the rats made a mistake now. Not only that, but these rat boys do not get a counterattack. It's going to be the Raptor Knights impact 1. They're hitting on 3s, plus 5 hits. Because of the impact 1. So hitting on 3s, they're going to do a total of 12 hits. The Rat Scouts are going to save just one of them. Rat Scouts only have a defense of 5. They're going to take 9 hits. That's going to drive them from the table. And now our Raptor Knights have to decide, what are we going to do? We can move up to 3 inches. You know, the smart play would have been to pivot those Scouts. Remove the wavering. Oh, I don't think you can, though. I think you have to either pivot or remove the wavering. No, because if you have hold, you remove the wavering. So they could remove it and at least have faced this direction. Now the Raptor Knights get to move up to 3 inches, and we're going to pivot this way and move 3 inches like this. We want to pull back a little bit so that we are In fact, we can put one guy in. We're still an inch away from the wizard. We are contesting for this objective marker. And these guys, they may be able to impact. Remember, they're tired. So if they have to fight back, they're only going to be hitting on 6s. But that does buy us a little bit of time. And also it means the wizard can't hit us in the flank where we can't counterattack. So the rats get to go. And what are the rats going to do? Well, we're going to bring our wizard out to here. And he's going to cast cracks at this unit of Raptor Knights. He needs to fire, or should we fire lightning? An enemy unit within 6 inches takes 1 hit with AP 4, or do we want cracks? We're going to do cracks. We only need to roll a 3 or better. And we get it. So the Raptor Knights are going to take 3 hits with AP 2. So we try to save 3 hits. The Raptor Knights have a defense of 4. They need to roll 6s to save these. They save 1, but 2 of them go down. Because they took hits, they have to take a morale check. Now, these guys are pretty good. They've got a quality of 3, and they will pass. But what's worse than that, the 2 wounds, is that he's blocking them from being able to get to this chip over here. Although if they do kill him, then they will be able to move 3 inches and take command of that on the next turn. Well, hey, that's no problem. Then what we'll do, who gets to go next? These guys get to go next. So we're going to bring them up here. They can move 3 inches, and then they can shoot, and we get 4 shots with these guys. These scouts are finally getting in the action, and the 4 of them are going to shoot at King Rizzo here. Those are Shade Scouts. Oh, they have a range of 4.5 inches. They're just within range now. All right. We brought them up so they don't have to worry about line of sight. And with the 4 shots at quality 3, wow, that's pretty good. No, they get 2 attacks. Whoa, they get 8 shots. Man, we'll take it. Hitting on 3s. They're going to get a total of 3 hits. King Rizzo, do those have any AP on them? No. Oh, they are rending. We didn't roll any 6s. So King Rizzo is going to block 2 of them. He's going to take 1 more hit. And he has to pass a morale check. He is now at half strength. And with a 2, he fails and he routes off the table. So he's not going to get to act this turn. It is the rats' turn, and the rats have to decide what we're going to do. And I think because those Shade Scouts are so close, I think we're going to have to just move to the front. Well, we're going to park ourselves right on top of it. We need to make sure that our flanks are not exposed. So it's right about there. And that's all we're going to do. We're going to force them to drive us off of that point. We are going to lose this one. On the 4th turn, things are going to get pretty hairy. These Corsairs are going to pivot 180 degrees. That will end the turn. And this gem turns from Dark Elf Purple to Rattling Green. But the gem over in the Oasis turns to purple as well. So the score is now 2-2. The Raptor Knights turn the green to blue. The score is tied. The Rat Wizard is going to blast him. He's going to hit this guy. With a result of a 3, he gets his spell off. He hits him with cracks again. They take 3 hits AP2. Looking for 6s to survive. We get none. And man, that spell seems to be a little OP, doesn't it? That is going to, well, of course, the fun bit is that this still remains in the Dark Elf hands. Unless we were smart and pulled him over here first before he cast that spell. But we didn't do that, because if anybody survived, we wanted to keep the Raptor Knights away from that one. Oops, that's probably our bad. The Dark Elves get to go first, and they have 2 units that can operate. And this unit is going to run away. They're going to pivot 90 degrees, and they're going to race up to here. And what that does is it prevents the rats from advancing, winning the combat, and then using their 1.5 inches to secure this victory objective. Now, there's no way for the rats to get close enough, although I guess it doesn't really make any difference because they will still be able to pivot and come down here and secure this objective. which will put us back at 3-1. Although there's one last fight we got to do, and that's this one, where the Corsairs are going to have to enter the dangerous terrain. So before anything else happens, we're going to roll 4d6, and on any ones, a Dark Elf dies. Now, bear in mind, you roll when you enter dangerous terrain. So the rat's just sitting there doesn't trigger this roll. And by doing this, the rats have secured one casualty before the melee even begins. Unfortunately, this now does mean that the Corsairs are going to get to strike with their dual hand weapons. So they will get 6 attacks at quality 4. There we go. And they're going to get 4 hits. The rat swarms have a defense of 6 and they have a toughness of 3, huh? Okay, so 4 hits, toughness of 3, and they've taken 1 wound, and they save all 4 of those, allowing them 2 attacks. I guess I should really just have like 1 swarm that I use with the same... you get it, right? Like normally, all my hero characters, I could probably buy 3 rat swarms and wind up with 225 points. Each swarm has 3 wounds. In this case, I went with 3, because I have 3 stands. I just used 3 stands. They're going to get 2 counterattacks. And with a 3 and a 3, they get no hits. And what that does is it forces the Corsairs to move back a half an inch. And because of the width of the base, this will remain in the control of the rats. But here at the end of the 4th quarter, this objective gets turned back over to the rats. Leaving a battlefield that looks a little something like this. 3 to the rats to 1 to the Dark Elves, even after their strategic retreat. There was just nothing they could do. The rats just had too many guys left over. Despite the blunders on the part of the rats in leaving their Night Scouts in position, we did play a little bit of a funky game. Hey, we kind of forgot about these guys, and then we didn't. But that was really more to see what would the effect be if you had a unit pop up. And I did kind of camp the Dark Elves on these 2 for a while. But when things started going south over here on the left, I said, yeah, let's just run them over there, and maybe we can give up one of these victory objectives to the Dark Elves. Yeah, it turns out we couldn't. But a lot of back and forth in this one. The Raptor Knights taking one, moving over here, a little bit of sweeping around. And there's the one thing I like about this Age of Fantasy Regiments is that you can sacrifice units to buy yourself time. One cheap unit stopping knights. I mean, granted, the knights can move 9 inches. But if you can force them to only move 3 and then attack and then 3, sometimes it's worth giving up one of those cheap units to slow down the knights. They can't get over and do what they need to do over on the other side of the board. Like we did with the Wizard. That was part of what our thinking was over here. But really, man, those D3 hits were dangerous. And the Raptor Knights, I think we got to give the MVP to the Wizard. Those Raptor Knights are no joke. And to be able to wipe them out like that, that was a huge win for the rats. That might have been what tipped the scales. Hey, on the other hand, if I totally botched something here, let me know. I need to know. Like, if I dropped any rules or would have swung the game, I need to know. Just be cool, man. That's all we ask. It's the House of Wargaming. We try to keep it chill. Till next time, I'm praying for you.